Welcome back to another episode. It is Season 1, Episode 2. We want to thank Olivia for the subject matter write-in this week. So thank you, Olivia, for putting this in my ear. Our content is titled, Should I Marry? And what a great question. What a great follow-up to our first episode, How to Love and Be Loved. So this is going to be the follow-up to Season 1, Episode 1. This is Season 1, Episode 2. Thank you so much for joining us. I am not a paraprofessional in any sense of the word, but I do speak based on personal experience. So if you ask me, what are your qualifications? I'm just going to say, look, I have experience in this field. So political interests are going to tie into this also. I really would recommend that you want to be like-minded, although obviously opposites do tend to attract. Politically, I really don't think you want to be hugely conflicting, as I really don't believe that tends to make, a good marriage. I think you want to be pretty grounded in whatever you believe, whether you're liberal, pro-LGBT, if you're pro-conservative. I think those types of people should generally stick together. I'm not going to get political on this one because this is going to have universal appeal. So whatever you like to do, if you're pro-LGBT, I would recommend you be with a person who is also of the same cloth. If you consider yourself conservative, I would recommend you stick with a conservative spouse. Common hobbies. What do you enjoy? What would you like to learn from a partner? You guys like to go fishing? You like to go boating and, go mudding and all that stuff. Typically, when you enjoy the same types of hobbies, they can really help you grow together as a couple. And there's nothing more beautiful than seeing two people that are like-minded who enjoy the same things and enjoy those experiences, which can tie them even closer together as a really great bonding experience. We want to go over what your priorities are in life. You should probably get a piece of paper out while you're listening to this. Go over your priorities. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you plan to be? How many children would you like to have? What is the schooling that your children is going to have? Are you going to homeschool? Are you going to send them to public school or private school? These are things that you kind of should hammer down in general before you say I do. Some common goals that you could explore between yourselves. Who's going to work? Who's going to stay at the house? Or which shifts you guys are going to work? You're going to have someone watch the kids, someone works third shift, and then someone works first shift. That's the dynamic that we have at my house. My wife works first shift pretty much 8 to 5, and I work the third shift. So I'm getting out of work as she's going into work. That way, if we have any issues with our children, if they're sick and have to leave school, I'm right there with my, I leave my phone on. I'm right there to go pick them up. Otherwise, I'm sleeping during the day. It just works, Once you have a spouse and you begin problem solving, you kind of generate the same brain to where your spouse may say, hey, what about, I already took care of that. And it just makes you look like a power couple. There's something really to be said about two people that really, really, really have it together that still even impresses me. And I'm a hard person to generally impress. Family size goals. Do you want to adopt? Are you unable to have children? So maybe you would like to adopt, or you would like to have biological children. How many would you like to have? Between you and your partner, how many children would you like to have? Do you have cats? Do you have dogs? Does someone have a pet allergy? These are things, maybe you already have cats, and maybe your partner has a pet allergy. How are you going to circumvent the problems that you may run into? What do the two of you believe that a marriage is? When you start plotting out on paper what you believe a marriage entails and what your partner thinks a marriage is, maybe the two of you have vastly different ideals. And that may not be an issue, or it may become a problem. It's definitely one that's worth exploring. Talk about it. Communication is the absolute key to a healthy, sustainable relationship. And speaking of health in a relationship, what about abuse in a marriage? You've got emotional, spiritual, verbal, and physical abuse, even psychological abuse. There has to be a tipping point for abuse. Don't allow yourself to be abused by your spouse. And it doesn't have to be coming from a male. There have been lots of instances where women have physically, emotionally, and otherwise abused a male in a marriage. So it's not gender specific. Any one person can be abusive in a marriage. You have to know when somebody's kidding and when somebody is being abusive. Because abuse is not cute, and it will only get more pervasive, which is to say more frequent, as a marriage goes on. Once they get away with a little bit of abuse, they may ramp it up, do a little more. So keep an eye on that. They watch out for, crude tendencies where they're cussing you out and maybe eventually they're pulling your hair or punching you in the face. At some point, there has to be a point where you say no, whether you have children or don't have children, and you walk away. Respect yourself enough in a marriage to say enough is enough. Stepping away from that subject matter, who's going to work? Again, we talk about first shift, third shift. Maybe you want to go to school. So you say, can I go to school? Will you support me when I go to school? There's that right there, which is very important. It really explores the dynamic of taking care of your spouse. Who will watch the kids? You have kids going to school. Maybe you have children that are not school age just yet. So someone needs to be home to watch the kids. You run into sometimes a lazy spouse that doesn't want to do anything. The house is in ruin. There's got to be a fix for the disconnect on the lazy. You get lazy kids. You get teenage kids that don't want to do a damn thing. And it can be very frustrating in a married couple that their kids don't want to help out around the house. And they feel like their schoolwork is the only thing they need to do. And the house, again, as I've said, is in ruin. And that's a major problem. And it requires problem solving between the married couple. And you have to meet somewhere in the middle. If you don't, it's going to be really one-sided, and there can be relationship problems that stem from these types of disagreements. Financial stability. So there may be an obvious breadwinner in the home, whether it's him or whether it's her, and that's okay. If one person tends to make more money than the other, that's okay. If it were in my case, I don't care about that. I don't think it demasculates me. I don't feel like less of a man, especially in this day and age where the woman makes more money than me. There are men who don't like that. If you don't like that, don't be a party to that then. Don't marry her then. If that's how you feel, don't marry this person in the relationship you're in. Because that's going to be a toxic tipping point, clearly. If you don't like that, I wouldn't commit. I don't want to come off as an absolute know-it-all because I'm not, and that's not my intention. I only speak about what I know about, and it's based completely on my own life experiences. So obviously your mileage can and will vary. I want the whole package. I want the love. I want to be cherished. I want to be held. We get to talking about expectations in a marriage, and we all go into a marriage with expectations of some sort. You need to see those results take shape before you say I do. Otherwise, it may just become another divorce to raise the percentage of failed marriages. There has to be honesty at play here and lots of communication. You are becoming a partnership. Parenting is both parents. The moment one person feels as though he or she is doing all the work, that fabric is tearing. And as always, fabric can be repaired, but after it's repaired, it is not exactly the same as it was once before. Declare your wants. Write them down. Make them known. You want to ensure that everything you desire is on the table. Romance. Equal work around the house. Feeling validated. Feeling loved. If you don't feel loved, we hearken back to Season 1, Episode 1 of the Joel Krupa podcast, where you need to feel loved. There's talk about feeling loved and having value. Anytime anyone gets divorced, someone did not show value and someone did not feel valued. Always respect your partner. Always respect them. Always love them. And you have to equally be willing to make concessions. There are times when you'll have to back off on something that you want to do because something else is on the front burner that needs to be dealt with. And that's just a reality that we all share. Even when your spouse is sick and needs care, that is your partner. That is your helpmeet. They really should become your priority and responsibility. They're your partner, your lover. They are the equal representation of yourself and ought to be treated as such. You have to take the good days with the bad. There will be bad days. I promise you, I assure you, there will be bad days. However, the days that are good should always outweigh the bad. If the bad days are outweighing the good, you need to take a breath, step back, and see where the problem lies. Once you discover what the problem is, only then can you correct it. Speaking of which, marriage is problem solving. You can get so good at the problem solving that it becomes second nature on almost a grade school level. Remember, marriage is not just spiritual communion. It is also remembering to take out the trash. In every good marriage, it pays sometimes to be a little deaf. How true. Your wife is less likely to argue with you when you're cleaning. Here's some more tips for a healthy marriage. Rule number 1, spend time with each other. This means you don't spend all your time at the job site. You don't work 100 hours a week unless that's what the two of you have agreed upon to do. You know, if you're young, you want to make a lot of money, and your spouse is okay with that, then that's okay. There has to be a verbal agreement that the two of you are on board with whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you're saving up for a home. That's okay. But this is kind of like the same thing as a swinger lifestyle. If the husband is going out and having sex with a dozen women and the wife is not, that's not a swinger lifestyle. That's just cheating in a marriage. That doesn't work. So spend time with each other. Married partners need time together in order to grow strong. So plan regularly scheduled date nights and weekend activities. If a getaway is not immediately possible, then make it a goal that you will work toward. By spending time with your partner, you will better understand your differences and how to negotiate the problems they may cause. Forget the quality versus quantity time discussion. Healthy marriages need both. That's absolutely true. Find time to be with each other. You're getting married after all. So if you're getting married, then that should mean that you love each other. Don't get married for money or for fame, because it just doesn't make sense. Marry for love, always. Learn to negotiate conflict. Now, conflict is a normal part of any relationship. There is a point, however, when it can increase in intensity and become emotionally and sometimes physically unsafe. Working out problems in a relationship starts with understanding what your issues are and how to discuss them. There are many resources available, both at a library and online, to help you learn how to deal with conflict. Using these resources can go a long way in preserving how safe you and your partner feel. Number 3, show respect for each other at all times. When a couple fails to respect each other, they often slip into negative habits. Research shows that nothing can damage a relationship quicker than criticisms and put-downs. Treating your partner as you would like to be treated will strengthen your bond. Paying your partner a compliment is a quick and easy way to show them respect. When you are tempted to complain to someone about one of your partner's flaws, ask yourself how you would feel if they did that to you. So, putting your partner down, especially in front of other people, is incredibly rude. I know I don't like it. It's very low class, in fact, to be sitting somewhere and have someone make a derogatory comment, and it's so much worse if it's your spouse, especially in front of friends. There's no place for it. There's never any place for it. Even in private, when you're putting someone down, your spouse, right to their face, it can be dehumanizing, and it can make you not want to pursue this relationship. I know that I would not ever want to be verbally abused on a consistent, constant basis. There's no place for it. And what does that show your children when you talk to your spouse that way? It shows them disrespect. It shows them that you can talk to their father or mother any old way they want. And it sets a really bad example. Number 4, learn about yourself first. Make it a point to work on self-discovery. One of the greatest ways to completely be loved by your partner is to know who you are first. It's so important. Know who you are before you marry them for who they are. Many partners enter into relationships without knowing enough about themselves. As a result, they can also have difficulty learning about their partners. Learning about yourself will better equip you to grow as an individual and a partner. Regardless how long you've been together, there are always more things you can learn about him or her. What are their dreams for the future? What are their worst fears? Imagine the bond you will share over a lifetime together if you commit to discovering new things about one another. Number 5, explore intimacy. Marital intimacy can open your relationship to a whole new level of enjoyment and closeness. It is important, however, to remember that intimacy does not always mean only sexuality. An often forgotten aspect of intimacy is the emotional type. An example of emotional intimacy is creating a safe space for your partner to share his or her emotions without fear of judgment or ridicule. Learn the difference between emotional and physical intimacy and when each one is most appropriate. Offering your partner one type when they really need the other can create problems in your relationship. We go back to Season 1, Episode 1, where we talk about knowing your partner's needs. Don't be aloof. If you're aloof and you don't have a clue what's going on in the relationship, the worst you can do is ask. Period. The worst you can do is ask. If you don't understand the social cues and you're just not getting it, that's okay. But ask. Find out what's going on. Communicate. We talked about common interests. Couples thrive when they share similar interests. That doesn't necessarily mean each partner will enjoy every single activity, but it does open up the possibility for greater sharing and compromise. Doing things separately is not bad, but common interests are important to healthy marriages. A common interest may be cooking or eating new foods together, going for walks, playing games with the family. The goal is to have something outside your family that you can both enjoy. Rule 7. Create a spiritual connection. Many couples even grow closer when they share some form of spiritual connection. This can be done in many different ways. For example, it may be through an affiliation with a church, synagogue, or mosque, through meditation, or by simply spending time in nature or intimate conversation. 8. Improve your communication skills. The ability to talk and listen to each other is one key to a healthy marriage. I think it's one of the biggest. You should never assume your partner knows what you are thinking or feeling. Ever. Tell your spouse what is going on, and as a spouse, know when to simply listen. I don't think there's anything more important. The knowledge of when to listen and when to speak. If your partner's had a really, really awful day, they need you to listen. They need you to hear their cry. Learning to really hear your partner is a skill that may require practice. Stop hearing and start listening. There are many resources available, like books, marital education workshops, and online courses. All of these options can help couples learn how to communicate more effectively. Forgive each other. That's number 9. Forgive. Learn and know how to forgive. When your partner does something, maybe they didn't mean to do it. We men can be stupid sometimes. We can be total idiots. And we can overlook something that we really shouldn't have overlooked that may seem trivial to us. Maybe it's a big deal to you. We're sorry. If he or she hasn't already, your partner is going to do something that hurts, frustrates, or upsets you. Guess what? You are going to do the same thing. Sometimes it might even be on purpose after an argument or misunderstanding. Forgiveness is a tricky but important virtue in a marriage, especially since no one is perfect. Try to allow your partner some room to make a few mistakes because you will also make some of your own. When you make a mistake, act quickly to apologize and fix problems. Doing so will help to encourage forgiveness and strengthen your marriage. 10. Look for the best in each other. When you met your partner, you fell in love with some of their qualities. Over time, however, your view of those qualities may have changed. For example, they may have been really, really great at saving money, and now you just think he's a cheapskate. So give each other the benefit of the doubt and create a list of all the things you love about your partner. It may help you to fall in love all over again. And as we talk about season 1, episode 1 again, romance. Romance is so important to me. I think everyone should feel, we go back again talking about value. I think showing a person their value isn't, by romancing them, I think that is a great way to show a person their value. It doesn't just have to be flowers and chocolates. I know women love those, but as far as men are concerned, you know what we want? Your time. We want your time. We want your love. We want your appreciation. We want to be held. I think it's so crazy how men have a stigma for just being these macho workers, these drones that all we're good for is, working a job and coming home and decompressing. But I think a lot of us, and I mean a lot of us, I don't think I'm in the minority. I'm willing to bet I'm pretty accurate on this. We want to be loved. We want you to spend time on us. We want to be held. We want to be cuddled just like you do. We want a lot of the same things that you all want. And we don't generally know how to speak about that because we don't have those feminine qualities where we feel comfortable talking about, I just want to be held. It has the social stigma of being emasculating. People might say, "Oh, you're gay because you feel like you gotta talk like a female." We're not talking like a female. We're talking like a human being, and there's got to be something said for that. We've got to figure out a way to reduce the stigma of what people call a feminine male. We're only human, and we're looking for that spiritual, emotional connection. So the next time that you're talking about, should I marry? Here's what to ask yourself. Am I capable of being loved? Am I able to reciprocate that love to another person? When I look into this person's eyes, do I see a future? Will I always love this person? Is there a capacity in this person's heart for your love to always find a home? Is this person going to be the mother or father of your children? These are just simple questions for should I marry? But the answers are not always the easiest. So when you're thinking about that love of your life and whether or not to take the next step, look inside yourself and make that determination. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. This is the Joel Krupa Podcast, Season 1, Episode 2, Should I Marry? Thanks again, Olivia.